micros make their way up the hill here at GYG. All being well, and hopefully she's out, Ella Lucia should be on pole position with Alex Jones alongside Aston Brown and James Roberts on route number 2, Samuel Lowdy and Daniel Minto on route number 3. Toby Duke starts 7th alongside Logan Lauder with Dax Farah and James Tate on row 5, Kyle McLean and Jack Baker on route 6 in front of Harry Neeson and Jack Hutchinson. So we'll see whether Lucia is out. Dax Farah was another driver that wasn't with us for the first heat of the day, and it looks like Ella Lucia isn't with us because she has a bright pink helmet, so car's still not good to go for Lucia. We are coming down the hill then for our Micro Max class. We're almost 3 wide, but everybody slots back in. It looks like we've been given the green light, so we're away and racing. There's a little bit of contact there between the 30 and the 2 being James Roberts, who won that first heat of the day. Now looks like he's managed to find a move down the inside of Aston Brown as well at the top of the hill at Spoon. Minto is up into 3rd, so it looks like Roberts leads the way then from Brown with Minto in 3rd place. Then we've got the 30, I think, of Alex Jones, and it looks like Toby Dukes has just got himself up there as well, inserting himself into the mix. Moving through from 7th place, looks like they could then be on the outside as they make their way down the hill. Through the compression corner and then down into the Devil's Elbow. That's the double apex right, and compression being the tight left at the top of the complex, with Roberts then leading the way from Brown. Neeson tries to get alongside the inside of Logan Lauder, I think. There it could have even been James Tate in their battle for 9th and 10th. So Roberts leads the way. It was Aston Brown in 2nd, but Daniel Minto has come through now for 2nd place at the top of the hill as they go into that right-hander in the heavy braking zone at Spoon. So Brown then down to 3rd. Then we've got Lowdy. Dukes out with a good start up from 7th into 5th place. Jack Baker running in 6th in front of Jones, Lauder, Tate, Neeson, McLean and Hutchinson, with Farah and Lucia not out on track today. And how much of a gap has James Roberts managed to eke out in the opening 2 laps, whilst Daniel Minto has been coming through that traffic? It's 0.7 of a second for our 2 leaders. Can Minto close in? Still 6 minutes remaining, so we're only 2.5 laps in. Probably going to get somewhere near 10 or 11 in this one, so plenty of time. With Brown running in 3rd, they're already down the hill. This is the battle which sees Logan Lauder getting involved with Alex Jones. That's Jones in 7th. Lauder is going to be 8th in the 33. With, looks like now that's Toby Dukes on the back. So it looks like Jones will have moved up into 6th place. Dukes then down into 8th after a valiant opening lap. Saw him holding off the pack behind. Still one of the youngest drivers in this Micro Max class. There's confirmation on the screen then that Jones and Lauder have both moved up into 6th and 7th respectively. They started to move away ever so slightly. The gap remains similar between Roberts and Minto for 1st and 2nd at 7/10 of a second. You see Jones and Logan Lauder now battling it out over 6th place, having both found a way through on the previous lap. Once again, differing lines. When you look at this track and certainly downhill section, you think that's single file and it's going to be everybody following the same line all the way down. But more noticeable today is James Tate is off and looks like he's got a problem with that car. He's looking down at it. I don't know whether it's stuck and he can't get it moved, or whether he's got a problem with the left rear wheel, because he was looking down there. That's definitely not engine side. There's very little down that left-hand side other than the engine and the brake disc. So he's, sorry, other than the wheel and the brake disc, the engine being on the other side. So it looks like James Tate then will drop down into 12th place, having run just inside the top 10. There he is at the marshal's post, his cart on the grass. That'll be covered under local yellow until they can get that cart comfortably moved away. The field still fairly tightly packed. That'll give the marshals around about half a minute to get that cart cleared over towards the barrier and allow overtaking opportunities. As we see Aston Brown there in third place, coming under pressure from Samuel Lowdy, and Lowdy dives down the inside in the 45. Aston Brown though gets the switchback, and Lowdy may even lose a place here to Jack Baker down the hill. Baker comes through to move through into what will now be fourth place. So Lowdy, in going for third, drops down into fifth. They make their way down the hill. That cart of James Tate still parked on the inside, so I'm not sure they're going to elect, with 3 minutes remaining, that cart may well stay there. Minto sets the fastest lap of the race for 47.122. There he is in the further view of the shot, still trying to close in on James Roberts. The gap though still 0.6 of a second, with Brown holding off Baker and Lowdy, but Baker is through and Lowdy as well, punching a hole through, and that will now leave Aston Brown on the outside in the run down towards the carousel corner. Will he be able to get the cutback? No, he has to slot back in. So the efforts of Aston Brown to hold back Jack Baker and Samuel Lowdy have only lasted 2 laps, and that behind as well. Alex Jones looks like he's closing in the 30, coming right up on the back of this one. We'll see whether he's going to have enough time in the remaining 2 minutes and 20 seconds plus 1 lap to close in. The gap between the 2 leaders though closing once again down to half a second this time. There's Minto on the back of James Roberts. Keep an eye on that one, as Aston Brown is still trying to get back past Samuel Lowdy as they make the run down the hill. Alex Jones in the background there in the 30. It's going to be close enough, I think, towards the end of this one to turn this into a 4-cart battle for third place, although Jack Baker has opened up a gap of 2 or 3 cart lengths since getting through on Samuel Lowdy and Aston Brown. Personal best for James Roberts in the lead. Fastest lap of the race though, another 10th and a half out by Daniel Minto. We'll see them there every time we come through and we follow this through. We see them further on, further up the track. The personal bests are coming in, and Minto is down the inside into Spoon Corner. Carried too much speed though, may not be able to hold on from James Roberts, but he's through into the lead. Daniel Minto was half a second back almost over start finish. Got a good run though. Once you get into half a second territory, you're close enough then to benefit really from the slipstream all the way up the hill, as we see once again the back of James Tate still down there surveying the action in this Micro Max heat number 2. It's Daniel Minto though now from James Roberts leading the way over the line. Now it's going to be Roberts who's going to be able to benefit from the slipstream on the run up the hill. 45 seconds remaining means we're still probably going to get 3 more laps in this one. Roberts tries to use the outside to try and cut to the inside. Minto parks the 28 on the inside, then carries more speed round and goes much tighter on the exit, which could potentially allow James Roberts to carry more speed down the hill towards Carousel. As they head then back up the hill into the right-hander at the top. Head down, back down the hill. This left corner here, this tight one, this is compression. Then they'll drop down into the Devil's Elbow as the carts drop away and go light. Down there into the left, into the final corner. This is Paddock. They're going to cross the line with 6 seconds remaining. So we are going to get 2 more laps of Micro Max action here. James Roberts once again in the slipstream, close enough. Daniel Minto isn't going to be able to rest on this one. The time at the top, as you can see, has elapsed as the field's still making their way through. The 2 leaders though, nose to tail. Down the hill in the background we see Jack Baker leading the way for third place, with Lowdy, Brown and Jones still there or thereabouts, still battling it out. So there's very little between third and down to 6th. Less than a second splits them as Minto goes slightly wide round compression and then into Devil's Elbow. He's not going to be able to do that on the final lap because I think he's going to find James Roberts right in that gap if he leaves the same sort of door open, and Roberts is right on the back, and Minto doesn't even go out to half width on this one, cuts straight to the inside. This last lap will probably be the slowest lap that these Micromaxes have done for this entire race, because Daniel Minto is going to take the tightest lines round every one of these Glanyagors Park corners. Comes to the inside, defends across the track. James Roberts elects not to stick the cart down the inside there. He had a cart width and not much more. Minto then goes tight. Can Roberts then get the cut back? He can, to the inside, but Minto once again closes the door, and Roberts gets some snap oversteer in there, having to get on the brakes. Daniel Minto through the final few complexes of corners has a look over his shoulder. He's wide, then he's going to be tighter into paddock. Roberts is going to try and get alongside, does, but Minto holds on by less than 1/10 of a second to take victory from James Roberts. Jack Baker's going to get third in front of Samuel Lowdy, Alex Jones and Aston Brown, with Logan Lauder and Harry Neeson coming through for 7th and 8th, with Toby Jukes 9th, holding off Kyle McLean at the line despite a personal best, with Jack Hutchinson coming through for 11th. James Tate we saw in the Marshall's post for most of that race into retirement, unfortunately for him.